What up, Redemption? It is special guest host John Earley here for Threshing Floor, episode 31, Flipping the Script. So tonight we have me guest hosting with our special guest, John Hendrix. You'll have to listen to the episode to find out why. And we're going over a lot of spoiler news tonight. And we also have some happenings in the community to talk about, as well as the winner for our Week 4 giveaway, followed by our Week 5 riddle. It is a doozy. So let's get right into it, guys. Thanks for being with us. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Threshing Floor, episode 31. And if you are confused because you're hearing John Earley's voice right now and not John Hendrix, that is because this episode is called Flipping the Script. So due to some circumstances, my buddy Hendrix is not 100%. And so we are going to flip the script, and I'm going to do the hosting, and he is going to be the guest. So you're going to have to listen to me talking about some news, some spoilers, and then I'm going to ask him a series of questions about his redemption progression and where he sees the future of his things going. So let's all give a round of applause for our guest, John Hendrix. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Feels like I've been here before. I can't quite put my finger on it, but seems very familiar.
It seems familiar to you? All right, that's good. That's good. All right, so let's dive right in on everything. So here is the news for the week. So we are recording this on Sunday night, and the Lackey Grand Prix final round is still technically going on, but I've been told by my buddy Jay that the top 4 is mathematically locked in, and in theory, the game should be done by the time you're hearing this. So if they're not, I apologize to you guys who have just been told that your games were maybe mathematically not quite as important. But the top 4 for the Lackey Grand Prix, the 3rd edition, are Jaden, Luke, Matt, and Rob. So congrats to those guys, and we'll get some information from Jay coming out hopefully soon, and maybe they'll be able to stream these games like they did for the 1st edition. That would be pretty cool. I think people really enjoyed that opportunity. Then we've also got a couple new videos out this week. We have from our good friend Tyler Stevens a video called A New Take on Toss. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know exactly what's in it, but it's a Tyler video, so you know it's probably going to be pretty good. He's probably got Delivered in the deck somewhere. I'm willing to bet good money on that, and I'm willing to bet that it's probably pretty fun. What do you think, John?
Yeah, either that. He's either got Delivered in there or he's got calf, so he's covering one of his 2 basics to make sure that he hasn't been kidnapped. Like, you can tell it's his video if he's forcing those cards in there. But
There
yeah,
you
I
go.
started to watch this video and I didn't get too far into it, but definitely on the to-do list.
So then we have another video out from a newer player to the scene here. Him has put out a couple of videos, but the one that I was most interested in this week that I saw was a video on some rotation deck building. He did a live stream where he built a rotation deck, and then I believe he played it in a game against Jaden. So the video should be available on YouTube, but like I said, he live streamed it, and it should have. I think that the way that works is now it's available to go back and watch. So I would encourage everybody to do that if you want to get a look at some deck building, and then obviously gameplay between 2 pretty good players is always something worth watching there. Next little bit of news is Derek Torado, our friend Derek over at Your Turn Games, is hosting an online tournament. I believe this is an official tournament, and that will be on Sunday, May 22nd. So this Sunday, you got 5 days to sign up for that and go ahead and play in that. And I believe that it will be rotation and LOC only as the categories offered. So if you're looking to get some real life redemption in, that is your place to do that. I will be skipping that one because the day before that, May 21st, is the Minnesota State tournament, and I imagine that I will be all redemptioned out after a long day there. How many days in a row of redemption do you think you could play there, John?
I guess it depends, like, what time of the year. Like right now with all of the outside things that are pulling on me, like baseball with the kid and stuff like that, and work picking up. I mean, it's kind of hard just to fit in any redemption right now, but I mean, as far as just my tolerance for it, I could probably go a couple weeks straight of playing every day if time was not, you know, such a, precious commodity.
Couple weeks straight. All right. Anybody thinks they can go more than a couple weeks, you let Hendrix know. All right, last little bit of news. It's not really news, but I thought it was worth mentioning that we're getting really, really close to nationals, guys. We are 10 weeks away from the national tournament in Iowa. My buddy Gabe is hosting in North Liberty. If you haven't already gone out to Land of Redemption and pre-registered for the tournament, now is the time to do so. I believe we've already ordered things. I think Rob's already ordered, so we should hopefully have plenty of participation promos. But if we haven't ordered those yet, which I'm not 100% sure that we have, now is the time to get in, get your pre-register in, start making your plans, get the hotel rooms booked, all that good stuff. We are 10 weeks away. We are getting super, super close to nationals, and I could not be more excited. All right. That is all the news we have for this week. So we're going to jump into our ongoing giveaway in celebration of the Threshing Floor reaching its half year mark. We've been doing this for a few weeks now. So last week, the riddle was a relatively tricky one, unless you know how my mind works, in which case you probably figured it out. So the riddle was, this answer can be found in rotation. I am the only character in the Bible who does not have a father. Who am I? And the answer was the rotation legal version, Joshua, son of Nun. So, a little bit of a knee slapper there from me. But hopefully, we had a number of players that got it. Hendrix has that info still. I'm hosting, but he's got all the goodies over there. So if he
Yep.
wants to hit the drum roll button and hit the spinner, we will draw our winner.
All right. So I will say that this week had the most incorrect answer. So some people might get mad because Melchizedek was kind of a worthy answer there, but not quite what we were looking for. So out of the correct answers, we will get ready to roll. Our buddy Jaden Alstead is the winner.
Jaden Alstead. That's unfortunate. I was really hoping to sell him one at Minnesota State this weekend.
Well,
I do.
maybe we can just postpone sharing the podcast episode until he buys one.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just hold off on a week on posting this episode. Everybody will be real confused on Tuesday. So I do have these in hand, by the way. Now, everybody, they are available for sale on Covenant Games. Our good buddy Emmanuel from Massachusetts or Connecticut, I don't know, one of those northeastern states, he purchased one that is going to go out in the mail tomorrow morning. I haven't figured out exactly how to mail these. Derek, you got any advice for me? Give me a call, buddy. Let me know how you mail yours out. I think I know what I'm going to do, but manuals might be a little sketch, so hopefully it gets to them in one piece. But that's awesome. Jaden
And they
wins.
do look good. They do
They
look good.
do look good. Yes, they do. I'm super pumped with how they turned out.
Maybe
So Jaden,
we can get a manual to give a couple pictures and kind of word of mouth to show how good they turned out, because I had questions about whether they would turn out great with the logo, whether it would like pull too much focus away from it, but it looks great.
yeah, I think they turned out better than I was anticipating. I was actually really concerned. So this is the first time I've produced a playmat or a product like that, and I'm fairly decent with graphic programs and things like that because I do some stuff for the cards, right? And so as I'm working on it, I go to upload it to the website that's producing these, and I download their template. I do all the work on it. Hendrix sends me the file that he had built initially, and then I added the logo and all that stuff. And then I go to upload it, and I hide all the layers that they say to hide, and I export it as a JPEG. That's what they say to do. And then I upload it, and then it wants me to space it, and say, okay, so these edges are gonna might potentially get cut off. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Didn't I just do that with all your templates and all that kind of stuff? So I was like super concerned that I was gonna get this thing and have like a rectangle all the way around it of just like no color because of how the upload process to their website worked after I used their templates to download it. But it turned out beautiful. There's color all the way to the edges. It's what we wanted to see. So that is fantastic. So that is our week 4 winner, Jaden. And I will probably give him his playmat in person at Minnesota State, save myself a little bit on shipping there. And I think supposedly Kai, our week 3 winner, is also going to be at Minnesota State this weekend. So I might get to save shipping on 2 of these. I'm real excited about that. So we will save the rest of the week 4 that had the correct answer in case for weeks 5 and 6 here, one of these fine gentlemen that has already won gets the grand prize, so to speak, which is the Contender Deck from, again, our friends over at Your Turn Games. So the winners, Kai, Luke, Rob, and now Jaden, can still enter for weeks 5 and 6, and if they get picked, then their playmat will get redrawn out of the pool from the week that they won in. So, are we ready for the week 5 riddle, John, you think?
I think so.
All right. So here is the week 5 riddle. This one is for a Threshing Floor playmat sponsored by Covenant Games, as well as your choice of Contender Deck from currently available Contender Decks through Your Turn Games. Here is the riddle. I think this one is super easy if you've read your Bible. If you haven't read your Bible, you might want to open it up. Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. This is a rotation legal card. Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. All right, so that is the riddle for week 5. And I think we are ready to move on to spoilers. And oh boy, do we have a full set of those this week. So we have, and I hope I did this right. You got to remember that Hendrix is a pro. I'm just subbing. And so I did all the prep work on this one. And I looked and said, okay. And I didn't, like, I listened to the episode last week, but I didn't go back and re listen to see if he'd covered any of these. I just went by the dates that they were spoiled. So hopefully these are all new. We've got 4 GOC Phase 2 cards, and we have a whopping 6 Israel's Deliverance starter deck spoilers. And the reason that we have 6 of those will become apparent as we get into them. But we're going to start with the 4 GOC cards. So the first one up is Herod's Guard. It is a gold evil character. It is 5/4 numbers, warrior class, and this guy is generic for all you type 2 players out there. His ability, F blocking, prevent the next good card played in battle. You may exchange this card with a Herod from deck or territory. Cannot be prevented by a good card. Tell me what you think about this one, John.
I think this one's pretty cool. I think some of the strong abilities on the Herods that we've already seen. I don't remember them by title yet, putting abilities with titles, but I know there was like Herod Agrippa the First and Herod the Great or something like that that had pretty cool abilities. And having the ability to prevent the next card, come in, get those strong abilities to go off while preventing the next card. It's pretty good. And this is cannot be prevented. So for all the decks that are splashing Noah and have other ways to, prevent evil characters, with Babel, things of that nature, this being able to, well, I guess Babel would still stop it because it's by a good card.
Yeah, see,
But
but Babel still stops it. But I get the point you're driving at there.
yeah. So just making sure that it comes in and gets its ability, but then is not cannot be negated like Joshua. So you could technically see that card from Lineage of Christ. What is it, like Spears that negates the last card that was withdrawn from battle. You can see that gets some play against this.
Yeah, that's not the exact wording on it, but that is the card. That's what you want to do. So it says it's spears, and it's while in battle, you may discard this card to negate and decrease an evil character in battle, or the last evil character removed from battle 0/3. And so what you can do with that is technically the Herod was the last character removed from battle when it goes to exchange, and so you can use spears to negate Herod's guard and bring it back into battle, decreased 0/3. So that will undo the, preventing the next good card, all of that good stuff. So there is an answer to it. There's a couple answers to it, actually, but that's a really solid one. And that was actually a play that in 2020 the Marshalls used to really great effect in their decks. They were all playing spears and as part of their big banding chains at the time, and frankly still today. Deceiver just auto lost to spears because Deceiver had low enough numbers that it just died. So whatever dude you went and switched for went away, and then Deceiver was decreased and just died. And I don't know very many people packing orange negates for Deceiver in their defenses. So it was really effective then. And I think it's definitely going to see a resurgence now with Herod's Guard. And then last week, we had Herodias' daughter, the other one that's kind of similar. So Herod's definitely are getting pretty strong with abilities that they can basically just tack on to other characters, whether it's going to grabbing a battle winner that they need or preventing the next good card. Definitely a lot of fun little tricks with them.
That's why I mentioned that one card, just because they had the other character that kind of did a similar thing to where you kind of facing Herod's that has two targets to kind of stop you from being able to come in and just get an ability and then exchange.
Yeah, for sure. So the next one up is a 2/1 gold warrior class character, and its title is Abusive Soldiers, and it is another generic character. We are showing these type 2 players all the love. You may reserve a hero from opponent's hand, protect gold evil characters from the next good enhancement played in battle. So you get to reserve a hero from your opponent's hand if they're hiding one in there, or if you do something to put one back in their hand, because there's 1,000 ways to do that, right? And then your gold evil characters are protected from the next good enhancement. So, what do you think about this guy, John?
I mean, it's strong. There's a what is this, like the third character now that does something with reserving something from the opponent out of the Herod subset.
Oh yeah,
So
Herods are all about reserving things.
so you do that, and then you're getting the protection from the next good enhancement played in battle. It's good. I don't know if it's going to be good enough unless you're bringing it in as part of a band,
That's what I was
because you
gonna
have
say. Yeah, I think it's best in the end of a band or something like that.
yeah, just because you have the other guys that come in and do something and then exchange. Those are going to be probably your primary, options if you're using Herod's. And this, kind of seems like if you bring in a band, so like lurking, interrupt, and then you bring this in, and it protects gold characters from the next good enhancement, something like that.
Yeah, the only trick with that might be that if you lurk and interrupt something, the way that the protection is wording, you won't get protected. Like if you interrupt a battle winner, it's not going to do anything for you. You'd have to like interrupt just like normal things and then bring him in and then hope that they're battle winner. And that's the other thing too is he's not CB anything, and so any interrupt battle winner is just going to go right through the protection. So he's good, but he's not like amazing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the reserve a hero part, like that could be good, but I feel like it's going to take some setup in order to actually have a big payoff. He's definitely like my 10th or 11th evil character when I look at building out Herods, unless I'm playing type 2, in which case I have a home for him in type 2.
Yeah. I think he's going to be one that you have to consider whatever the splash options are that you can put with Herod's versus just using him because he is a Herod. So he's one that I don't know how much will get played out of the gate. before somebody builds exclusively like this is what I'm trying to do, and he falls into that.
Now, I will say the one thing that he is pretty solid for is he's tiny. He's 2-1. And so he is a really good initiative character. And a lot of the Harrods that we've seen are not. There's a couple that are decent, but most of these Harrods are big boys. And so he may have a role as just your little initiative dude that just goes in and plays something and dies. So I don't know. I'm really bad at keeping up with all the spoilers, guys, because I've seen them all. Like, I've worked on them. So I don't always know 100% what you guys do and don't know. So hopefully I don't spoil something here for you. But there's a number of enhancements that are pretty good played on him. A lot of those play patterns that we've seen, frankly, in some classic cards. And then you've got your things that have made it into rotation where you go out with like Serpent and block and then play like Death of Unrighteous and stuff like that. There's definitely some Death of Unrighteous style cards and Herods that can be played on this Abusive Soldiers. So hopefully you guys have seen those. If not, you just got a spoiler.
Yeah, not to mention he's with his low numbers. Obviously, you get initiative, but he's also weapon class, so our warrior class, and you can use what is it? Foreign horses. Is that the one that kind of survived rotation that came out in LOC?
Yes, yeah,
Like
there's
interrupt,
a
draw
couple
two or
horses
whatever.
cards, but yeah, foreign horses is interrupt, draw two, and then you can play an evil enhancement if they've used a draw or surge.
Yeah, so something like that can work on pretty much any of the male Herods, like the Herod's Guard, abusive soldiers. Most of those that we've seen, I think actually maybe all that we've seen that are male characters are warrior class.
Most of them, yeah. No. All right. Up next, we've got a couple of enhancements here. So we have Herod's Banquet. We're going to invite you all to a feast. And we've got X4 numbers. And in the identifier line, we see that X is the number of Herods in battle. And the special ability is Interrupt the Battle. Character may band to any number of evil NT gold humans. You may discard up to X good cards from a reserve. Cannot be negated if used by a Herod. So I'm going to read that all again because there's a lot to unpack with this card. We could spend 10 minutes just talking about this one card. So Herod's Banquet, X 4 numbers. X is the number of Herods in battle. Interrupt the battle. Character may ban to any number of evil NT gold humans. You may discard up to X good cards from a reserve. Cannot be negated if used by a Herod. So, my first question for you, John, is how many Herods do we have that are rotation legal?
Um, Actual Herods,
Yeah, I mean, how big can we get this X count?
I don't know because like things like Herod's Guard, abusive soldiers, those don't count as Herod. Herod is just the ones that have the identifier Herod, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're just looking at things that are actually Herods. Herod's guard is not a Herod.
Um, so we have the legacy rare, and then I think we saw three maybe so far.
So the legacy rare plus three. So we can get it up to four.
That's a guess.
That's a guess. Um,
Yeah, you
goodness.
you can tell us how high we can get it.
I could tell you how high you can get it. Okay, hold on. Let me go here. I mean, technically, this isn't really a spoiler because you guys have the GOC set list, right? So you could just go and look at anything that has the name Herod from the GOC set list and
That
do the
is fair.
count. Yeah, so I'm not telling you anything if I just go and count them
And
real
a
quick
wiser man
here.
probably would have done that when you asked that question.
That's okay. You get a pass
I'm a
on
little
this
under the
week.
weather this week.
Yeah, that's all good. Under the weather. That's not how I would describe it. Come on now. Okay. So, and you guys have titles. So if you guys haven't gone and checked out the GOC Phase 2 set list, I suggest you do that. I can't believe We haven't had people banging down the door demanding to see various cards. So we've got Herod the Great, Herod Agrippa I, Herod Archelaus, Herod Philip II, and Herod Antipas. And that is it. So we've got 5 on the list here,
plus the
plus
legacy rare.
plus the legacy rare. So we can get it to 6. Okay, that's decent, I guess. So you can get your X up to 6. So I mean that's decent. I mean, realistically, depending on how people are building their reserves, 6 might be enough to take out the whole thing.
Yeah,
That's assuming you can, get to all of them. But I feel like these days redemption is so fast and there's so much searching. Like I feel like you can get your X to be 3 or 4 pretty easily, pretty early on, and in mid to late game, like it's gonna be 6, right?
depending on how you build it out. So
Yeah.
when you did playtesting with this, assuming that you had any interaction with this, how often does this fail against the cross? Just the cross being active, forcing this card to not
Um
be as effective.
So I did most of my testing with Harrods in a defensive heavy shell that was playing the cross, and so I actually don't think I played this card because I knew it was going to get tossed by cross. And the problem is because of how it works, if it gets tossed by cross, its X is usually like only 0 or 1, sometimes 2. So like realistically, its X doesn't get huge for tossing usages. It's more like the X. The X is really relevant for the good cards and reserve portion. I wish it was more relevant for the tossing part, but it's just not.
Yeah. When I read the cannot be negated, I was like, yeah, it's a really strong card. Like really strong card if you were able to get it off and ensure that it was going to happen. Because it lets you obviously you're getting to interrupt the battle, you're banding to any number, and then you get to also, pitch cards from their reserve. And then you get to that last line that's like cannot be negated if used by Herod. And the cross is just gonna eat that up. And the cross is everywhere right now.
It is, but we've already shown you a few things that can handle the cross in phase two.
I mean, yeah, but even with all the answers, if I'm a player that thinks the cross is really good and enjoy playing it and not having to worry about dominance, even for just a turn or two, I'm probably still going to be playing it with the answers that are there. So then it's a matter of you've got to get to your answer before you use cards like these, and then you have to strategically plan your game that way. Like, okay, I've got this card that was a really good potential battle winner or whatever because I'm bringing in all of these extra abilities off this interrupt, but I can't do it because they've got the cross active. So now I've got to get that off before I can play this. And then at what point does I don't know it become too reliant on whether or not it's able to push through without you having to work around the cross.
That's fair. That's fair for sure. But I definitely think it's a really strong card. Um, Granted, you have to work around that. I just look at all the different evil NT gold humans that this can potentially bring in, Herods and non-Herods alike, and just say, okay, here we go. Let's get some goodies going. So next up is another enhancement that has X's in it. So this is Herod's Treachery, and its numbers are XX. Its territory class, and the X is the number of opponents' good brigades. And the ability says you may take an evil NT card from reserve or deck if used by a Herod, withdraw all heroes. So it doesn't say CBN anywhere on it. So
No,
you can get this X up pretty big if your opponent, is playing loosey goosey with their brigades. You can get the X pretty big, but I don't know how you're going to toss it. So this has the opposite problem of Banquet. I can't get Banquet's X up high enough, but it's pretty easy to toss. Whereas with
yeah,
Treachery, I can get the X up pretty high because I feel like everyone's playing 1,000 brigades right now. I mean, all it takes is one Noah, boom, you're there, and your boy Noah, he's everywhere right now. And
right.
so you can get the X super high, but like you're not gonna get it tossed very easily. And frankly, I don't know. This
I
is
don't know that I want to toss it.
right. And this card is super, like, in my opinion, and not to toot the team's horn or anything like that, but like this card is super well designed, right? Because there's so much tension in how you want to use it. Do you use it as a setup card to go grab an evil NT card, or do you hold it and use it as a battle winner and wait for a moment when you know that they don't have a negate and play it on like Hair to Grip of the second, and all of a sudden, boom, just capture everyone? Like it's just the tension. And I did play this card, and the tension is real with this one. Like,
Yeah.
and so I just think it's really, really well designed. And I don't know which way I prefer to play it more. Like, there's definitely times that the taking is super important and the consistency is important, and there's definitely times where you need that battle winning ability.
Well, I will tell you that you guys definitely did a solid job not putting a star on it, so it's easier to get back or whatnot. But I mean, the fact that it can go and get, and that crowd's choice is a thing now. And so you can take this card if you're using it for the setup piece. And that's the thing, is making sure that there's enough ways to set up within each individual brigade in the game so that you're not forcing, what did we make the joke earlier? Or I guess you made the joke, but everybody makes the joke about Tyler's decks forcing delivered and whatnot just because. And, fun fact, delivered can be played with Herods, but I digress. The point is like having to force certain setup pieces in other decks because those other brigades don't have things. So you have this, and with the cost of a Dom slot, which I know that there's been recent conversations on Discord that I've seen where we talk about the fact that the consistency of Crouch Choice, maybe it's a little bit more than what the game should bear. That's everybody's entitled to their own opinion with that, but the fact you can take that New Testament card with a Herod from your deck and then turn it into anything. And Crowd's Choice then becomes good or evil. So this evil card could turn into any good card in your deck. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to pass up the consistency of that for Herods, even if you don't get to use the enhancement as a battle winner or toss it with XX being pretty high.
Oh, I for sure agree with you there. I do think that the using defense to set up offense. Like that's one of my favorite things to do, and vice versa. I like using offense to set up defense, but I think in the modern game, if your defense can set up your offense, that's a strong win. And there's a couple different ways that Hair's Treachery can set up your offense. I mean, you hit the what I would hope would be the obvious one for most players, that it can go grab Crowd's Choice, and then Crowd's Choice can go grab any good card. So you've got that line of play there. There's a few other sneakier ones that I'll let players find on their own there, but I enjoy Herod's Treachery setting up my offense, same as you for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we do know Clean the Power also has the Gold Brigade on it, so there's that one as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's all sorts of gold consistency cards. Like you said, Herods can play delivered, guys.
Yeah, which I one of the first things that hit me when I started seeing how strong these were was I really like playing Ruth from LOC, but it seems like Ruth has, especially with rotation, kind of taken away some of the way that you could use what is the card, a Soldier's Prayer, to kind of loop some things. Um, it seems like they really struggle to get uh, the artifact slot and manipulate it as well as other decks. And maybe it's just the way that I play that. And now you bring in something like you could pair it with this defense, and this defense, having some new toys from GOC, and you'd be able to play delivered on it in that deck without forcing it on a character on your hero lineup. It just kind of opens up another door of consistency for the Ruth deck if you were to pair it with this, but for example.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, I feel like right now a lot of players are playing the decks that they're playing because it gets them to consistency pieces and things like that. You see players playing a lot of green and teal just as splashes, that do other things. You see a ton of like Jeremiah's running around and stuff like that, and Noah's. A, because they're just strong heroes, but B, because they're in delivered colors. And that is testament to obviously how strong delivered is, but it influences the deck building quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, I think pale green is really strong right now. I think gold's a little weak right now, personally, but I think pale green is really strong, and so you could pair that. But I think definitely, like you said, you'll see a ton of people that play the offense that they want to play, that they think is the strongest attacking offense, and then use their defense to help set up some of that stuff, and compensate for the fact that they're not in a green or a teal for delivered. So next we are on to some Israel's Deliverance K and L starter deck spoilers. So I'm going to read the first two, and then we're going to talk about them. So we have Jethro, Priest of Midian, and he is a 4/6 clay hero. He is a priest, and his ability says may ban to a generic Exodus female, or you may draw one. And then we have Gad, David's chosen. He is a 4/6 green prophet, and he says may ban to a generic warrior, or you may draw one. So this is deck L19 for Jethro and K19 for Gad. What do you think, John?
I think it's nice to have cards that, un, unlike the INJ starter decks or the fourth edition starter decks as they're officially titled, that if their ability didn't benefit you or whatever, there was not a secondary. So this is may ban to, and then if banning isn't an option because you don't have the other hero target or whatever, you get to draw one. So just having, you know, teaching people, if you're teaching them the game for the first time, that a lot of cards now have secondary. You do this, or if you can't do this, you do that, and having that represented in cards like this on a basic level is nice. I do think that at some point, outside of the starter deck structure, you could possibly see Gad David's Chosen as like a piece for something, because banding to a generic warrior is just, I mean, that's a pretty wide target range there, depending on if you needed to use that color to try to get into a band for mixing brigades or whatnot. But overall, I think it's a pretty good ability to teach people that you can one of two different ways, and you get to choose the benefit. What's more important, drawing that card or potentially banding?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So the next two, you notice I'm reading in sets of two tonight, guys, and we'll get to that. So we have Philistine Charioteers, which is a 6/8 black warrior class generic Philistine. And the ability says you may take an evil weapon from reserve, or underdeck an evil weapon from discard pile. So there we go with that multiple choice thing again. Then we've got Egyptian Charioteers, a 6/8 pale green warrior class generic Egyptian that says, any guesses, John?
I'm gonna guess it says something similar to the other card.
I think that it says you may take an evil weapon from reserve, or underdeck an evil weapon from discard pile. So I'm pretty sure it's the exact same set of words. And this is L38 and K38. So we tried to explain, and there were a lot of questions about how we're doing the spoilers and how the decks are set up. So we were very deliberate this week in our spoilers. These starter decks are mirrored pairs. And so this week you got to see 6 cards, but truly you're only seeing 3, because the L deck and the K deck are identical in every meaningful way, i.e., Egyptian charioteers and Philistine charioteers are both 6/8 characters. They even both have charioteers in their name, which is, not necessarily the way that the complete decks are mirrored, but they're both generic. They're both a single nationality, Philistine and Egyptian, respectively, and they have the same ability. They have the same numbers. The only difference is the nationality and the brigade. So in the L deck, you have your black defense and you have your clay offense. And then in the K deck, you have your pale green defense and you have your green offense. That's what we've seen. And then I hope I'm not spoiling anything here. The other offensive colors are white in the L deck. I think we've seen some white cards, and purple in the K deck. I'm pretty sure you've seen some purple cards. So the only thing that's different is colors. And then there's identical abilities with very slight variations. And you see that in Jethro and Gad. Jethro's band selection is banned to a generic Exodus female, and Gad is banned to a generic warrior. The numbers of those two things are identical. So, in the context of the starter deck, Gad has the same number of banding targets as Jethro. And yes, the targets that he can ban to are slightly different in that they're the generic warriors and they have different abilities than some of the generic Exodus females do. But the basic concept there is the same. And then they both have the same draw one. So that's the idea, guys, is that it doesn't matter which deck you're playing, the decks should be, and I say should be, perfectly balanced because they are identical. And it should help for teaching the game purposes because if you are teaching a new player and you give them the K deck and you have the L deck, you should know, hey, the K deck card is this because you've already seen your L deck copy or you know what your L deck version does and all those kinds of things. We did this very intentionally in the hopes that it would make the gameplay feel very much more balanced and be a very easy teaching tool for newer players. So that brings us to our last set of mirrored cards here. We have Ordained Priests, an 11/9 generic Tabernacle Priest with you may take a good OT card from reserve or draw one. And we have Procession of Prophets, which is a 11/9 green hero, a generic musician prophet that says you may take a good OT card from reserve or draw one. So those are our three mirrored pairs for the week. What thoughts do you have on those before we wrap up spoilers here, John?
Um, I do have one that just hit me because I didn't realize that Procession of Prophets was listed as a musician. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one that you could potentially grab and use with like music leader theme decks or whatnot, and grab a OT card from reserve. I guess if you banded that in, found a way to consistently band that in, that's not a bad option. But I do think that one of the big things people will see when they do this is there was talks before and like we knew it was coming, but finally seeing Egyptian charioteers with pale green, seeing ordained priest with the clay, the shift in brigades there for those, and obviously we haven't gotten the full answer of if they're completely going into that brigade or whatnot. I would assume that's the case, but we've just gotten the hints and the few cards that have pointed in that direction, but seeing it for the first time is kind of like, all right, let's see what that looks like in the future. Like being able to mix some of the, I guess, potential future priest support with all of the martyr support that we've gotten from GOC. That looks like it could be fun in the future when some of those options come out.
Oh, for sure. There's not a whole ton of starter deck cards that I think will make it into competitive decks, but there's definitely a couple, and frankly, I think we saw a couple of them in this set. I agree with you that Gad, I think, will find a future home as a linking piece somewhere, and I think that both of the Charioteer cards are very solid for their respective civilization defenses.
Yeah, especially you mentioned before, people that play Type Two. I don't know how much you benefit from this because you would have to like ban them all in because they don't ban to each other or whatnot. But like except for other cards that would end in a ban with one of these, but being able to use more than one copy to get back a couple of weapons or grab a couple of weapons from your reserve seems like it could be at least something that's considered played there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So now we are going to get into our main conversation of the evening. And like I said, this episode is all about flipping the script. I was trying to do most of the talking, and we're just going to give John 15 minutes here. We're going to keep this episode to an hour because I know what's going on with John, and we'll see if he shares or not. But I don't want to keep him too long tonight, and we'll get him out of here. But I've got about 7 questions here for John about just kind of who John is, and we'll just see how far we get here. So our guest is John Hendrix, the owner, operator, and main host of Threshing Floor podcast. But that is definitely not all he is. So John, I just want you to take the next 5 minutes and just, you've dabbled a little bit in some of this information over the course of 30 episodes, but I just want you to take this opportunity to tell everyone who you are. Talk about your family, your wife, your kids, what you do outside of the context of redemption.
Sure, sure. And I guess initially when I started the podcast, I didn't want to be one of those people that spend so much time talking about themselves that they don't allow their guest or whatnot or the topic to be the main focus of an episode. So if you go all the way back to that first terrible audio episode, like I mean, it's hard to listen to. Thankfully, the audio has improved over time, but I asked each person. I had 3 guests on with me, so there was 4 of us total, and I asked each one of them about themselves and didn't say anything about me and just rolled right into the topic. So I guess 31 episodes in is a good time to circle back and make up for that. So my name is John Hendrix, and I am married. I am married to my wife. Her name is Tamsie, which is not a very common name. Tamsie, Tamsie Hendrix.
True story, guys. I've been friends with John for a while. I've been one of his more frequent guests. I'm his sponsor. I didn't know his wife's name until just now.
I have no reason for that. Like she's great. She's fantastic. Like when I tell people, like within Redemption, all the things that I do, like getting to travel to tournaments, getting to, what time is it now? It's 10:16, and about the week I've had, and maybe if we have some time here at the end, I'll mention it. But like the fact that I'm sitting here at my office at work and recording a podcast, and she's cool with it. Like she's she's a fantastic partner for me to have ridiculously nerdy hobbies. So um
Not only
anyway,
is she cool with it, I'm pretty sure she's sitting in the office next to you waiting for you to be done.
no, I actually struggled and tried to make the trip myself tonight.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
because I figure I'm probably
Okay.
going to have to do that tomorrow morning for work anyway on a normal basis. So
So you figured you might as well get a test run in here.
yeah. So, if I if I double up this week, it would be right now, hopefully. Um so and then I only have one kid, and his name is Keegan, and that's Keegan. He is the one who has pulled me away from being more dedicated to redemption and the podcast and things this season because of baseball. He is 8 years old, and he does both martial arts training. Everybody calls it karate, but they get mad at you at the academy if you call it karate. It's really like taekwondo or some form of martial arts training. Anyway, he does that. He does baseball, and then he is a huge like video gamer. Like he's all about like Minecraft, playing Zelda Breath in the Wild for the 3,000th time. So, and you guys obviously, I guess a little bit about him because he was on a few weeks ago when I was struggling to have an episode topic, and I was like, "All right, kid, you're on. You just step in here and make Daddy's job easier." But my family is, you know, I would say they're a great support piece for the fact that you know I am dedicating time to this and other things within the game of redemption, and it's nice to be able to do that. And I know that not everyone has as easygoing of a structure that allows them to do that. you know. But thankfully, my wife does allow me to do that, and I am very appreciative of that. Um, Also, I guess since we're supposed to be talking about me and a little bit about me, clearly from all of the sports references you have heard while me and my buddy John's been on, or me and Brad's been on, I love sports. I'm here to tell you that we had a baseball end of season party today. Baseball did wrap up this past weekend, and we did win first place in our league in the age group. We won the championship game 21-3. I'm not sure why they didn't call the game before then. They should have. Um, and Keegan had one fantastic hit all the way to the he rattled the fence in left field by the foul post. I mean, like it I don't think it had any chance of ever going over or anything, but like it one hopped right there into the fence. So it was a pretty good hit he had. And that was his last at bat for the season, so that was pretty good. Um, I will say, found out today that he is in consideration for All Stars. So if you've ever been a parent in this, then you know that that means we might be signing up for another, month or so full of baseball practices and games and tournaments. So we'll find out tomorrow. He's going to a practice type tryout between the last few for the last couple of spots, and we'll know tomorrow if he makes the All Star team. So I don't know if I want him to or not, but you know what I mean. If you've ever been in this position, you know what I mean. So
Oh,
uh,
I know what you mean. I've never been in that position, but I had a coworker last year, and their son plays baseball and made the All Star team. And it was like, hey, and they came to me like, so here's the deal. You know how I've been taking Saturdays off for the past, however long because of baseball and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, I thought that was over. He's like, yeah, no, it's going to be another 6 weeks. I was
yeah, he's so
like,
good. It's
okay.
gonna be longer. Which I mean, I guess is better than them just being like, "Yeah, your kid's not an all-star."
Right?
I mean, at least you take some pride in that. And my son is not athletic. Like he struggles with athleticism. He is not there on that, but he can just flat knock the snot out of the baseball when it comes to hitting. And so that's 100% why he's there and potentially making the all-star teams just because he hits the ball hard. He clears the infield just about every hit and you know moves people around the bases and stuff. So hopefully, if he does make it, he enjoys that, and we have fun with that. But it will, make my schedule similar to what it's been. But I do enjoy sports and things of that nature. I enjoy fishing. Um, you guys have heard me make the fishing analogies and things of that nature. So those are a few things that I like to do that do not involve redemption, but I'm pretty nerdy, so most of it circles back to around, just dedicating time more than I probably should to redemption and things of that nature, like the podcast and stuff. Which, unfortunately, I haven't been real active in playing the game lately because of work picking up, and I do run a warehouse here. I guess I mean, if we're going to do it at some point, I guess I might as well, just go ahead and share the story here. Um, that we had a TV rollout for some company that we've been holding TVs for in the warehouse, and so I just with a about a 3 hour break somewhere in there, I worked 22 hours straight essentially at work from 8 o'clock Thursday morning. I worked, and then I left about 8:30 to midnight. Came back at midnight into Friday, and was here until 3 p.m. All to get paperwork done and to pull these and 260 units going to 260 different addresses, and just organizing that and having a truck come pack that up.
So, like, I mean,
And
like, what kind of TVs are we talking here? We're talking like flat screens,
we're
like
talking a
65 inches, 75
43
inches.
43 inch smart TVs for Safeway. Safeway. That's your line of business. They're a grocery store, I
Yeah,
guess.
that is my line of business. They better
And
not be encroaching on my
and
territory
they
here.
they randomly had TVs for us, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to go ahead and work on rolling these out." And they send me this list of addresses, and they're like, "Could you get these out by the end of the week?" And it's like Thursday, my dude. Like, well, I guess it's Wednesday, and then we work on arranging a pickup. And I find out Thursday morning that they can have the truck here on Friday at 10 a.m. And so I had to make, like, the stack of paperwork is sitting on my desk right now, which is just half of it because the driver takes a copy for each shipment, and then I get a copy of it. And it's at least probably 6 inches tall, the paperwork. So
So then,
that's
so you contract out to a third party carrier for all this stuff, John? Is that how that works?
basically, uh, and we have to ensure. And since it was one TV per location, the carrier told us it would be better to ship them without pallets, which makes sense because if you put them on pallets, you're going to get less per truck space. And so then we had the client, which is, I guess it's still going through our main client, which is Hughes Network Systems, which is the company that owns. They're owned by EchoStar. They own Dish Network. They own HughesNet, Satellite Internet, and a couple of other various businesses. So they're a pretty big business. So we wanted to make them happy when they gave us this impossible deadline. So that's what led to me throwing all this time at work to get this shipment out. And then my kid has the championship game at 6 o'clock. I'm leaving work at 3 o'clock Friday. And I'm like, I'm going home and I'm going to get a nap. I was not on my phone or anything. I am coming over a bridge that uh, carries you over the river that separates two sections of town in our area. Obviously, Tuscaloosa County, and then there's main city of Tuscaloosa, and then Northport, which is north of the river. I was crossing the river, first red light back over, and the speed limit is like 50 miles per hour. So I was going that, and a Tahoe pulled out in front of me on a yellow light, which I hadn't hit my brakes because I knew I wasn't going to stop in time. And a Tahoe pulled out in front of me, and I basically hit it. I barely tapped the brakes. I would say 40 to 45 miles an hour, just head on, basically totaled my car into a Tahoe. And so that's what my Friday looked like. And now I'm dealing with the lingering effects of that, which is kind of why John had taken on the lead here for this episode, is because I braced on the wheel. Both of my hands are kind of shot right now. There's no structural damage, but they did say that all of my joints and my ligaments are, I forget the word that he used, but they're just going to take 2 or 3 weeks to heal up. I slammed both of my knees into the dash. The steering wheel pinned down on my legs, like basically broke down. Airbags, popped out, except for the center steering wheel airbag, thankfully, because that one would have just popped me in the face.
Wait,
Um,
so hold on. Your center airbag didn't deploy?
it did not, for whatever reason, which I'm cool with that because it would have just busted me up for no reason. Since I was, my face was like I didn't slam into the steering wheel or the dash or anything,
Well, that's
but
good, I guess.
everything else of me got smashed underneath, and then the steering wheel came down and like pinned over my legs.
So
Um,
I want to go to the anecdote here because you and I talked about this earlier when you reached out and said, "Hey, dude, we might not have an episode this week," and I said, "No, no, 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 hold on, let's figure something out." Um, and so the anecdote here that I want John to share is, when exactly did you see this doctor?
I saw the doctor the next day. My wife finally told me that you're getting up, you're getting a shower, and we're going to the doctor to make sure you don't have any structural issues like fractures, broken bones, things of that nature. And I went and got some X-rays done.
And why did you wait until the next day?
Because when they tried to pull me out and they told me that I needed to go to the doctor, they had an ambulance there ready to take me. Um, and I told them, no, no, you don't understand. We've got a ball game tonight. my son, my son's got a championship to go win. So I put off going to the doctor, and I honestly didn't feel that, like, I didn't feel that much pain. But then afterwards, I guess as the like adrenaline or the like shock of it went away, I'm like, okay, this wrist is hurting. I can't move this thumb to the point I told you that like editing the podcast would be a chore this week because as I used the mouse and used my hand to maneuver the mouse and click, like there is pain radiating through my hand and my wrist. And one of my knees is swollen up to the point to where like I can't walk without like a noticeable limp. One of my feet, I guess I kind of I'm the type of person that kind of lays my foot over to the side to you know where the toe is pointed to the right a little bit to hit the pedal instead of being straight up. So more relaxed on the knee, and so that foot got jammed into uh, the floorboard as the seat physically shifted forward upon impact. Um, so I just got a bunch of random little things that are, causing a lot of discomfort and pain and whatnot. And they gave me some medicine, but they did say it would be about 2 to 3 weeks to get back to where like I don't feel this random pain when I move this way or that way. So that's essentially the whole, gist of why I didn't do a normal episode this week here. So, not to hijack your questions here. We got to who is John, and we went all into this.
We did. We went deep. I still got 6 more questions here. Well, maybe we'll prune some of those out. So I'll be doing the editing this week, and potentially next week. We'll see how fast John heals up there. I think hopefully he'll be good enough to host next week, and maybe he'll just farm out some of the editing work. We'll see. And obviously, I'm sure he would appreciate your guys' prayers. I'm praying for him, and that's just a scary ordeal there. When he messaged me earlier today and said, "Hey, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do an episode, and how do you think we should handle the drawing and stuff like that?" I messaged him back. I was like, "Hold on, so like, what's going on that we can't do the episode or whatnot?" And all he did was he sent me a picture of, and I think it was his vehicle. I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
that was
of
my
just
that was my car that you insulted and said was like a Corolla or something
yeah.
from Nationals. It's a Passat. It was a Passat. It is no longer a Passat.
It is no
It is dead.
longer. It is a dead Passat. The entire front is absolutely crushed in. Um,
And the Tahoe just drove away.
the Tahoe just drove away. Typical. Oh man. So enough about that. Here's the next question, and I'm not a pro like Hendrix is, so these bounce around a little bit. But what is your favorite memory playing Redemption?
My favorite memory playing Redemption. It's gonna be hard for me to ever say anything tops the, staying up till 4 or 5 a.m. on a Wednesday night after helping Brad with the youth group. Like we would rush to get kids home on vans. I would take one van to take kids home, and he would take another, and us rush back to the church because his house was right beside the church. It's uh, owned by the church, and so you just walk across the parking lot to his house, and boom, we'd set up about 10 o'clock and play till 4 a.m. And sometimes we'd only get 2 games in that time because we were just trying to figure out the game, and it was like we were just so engaged with it. I don't know if anything can top that as like favorite memories. Just hanging out and doing that and learning the game. It's kind of like when you look back on Redemption, like if you look back on the first time that you actually played the game and started learning about it, like I mean, you're fond of those memories, and I don't know that anything can top that. But I mean, I'm also just what a couple of years into playing now. Like obviously, let's just say you take a year to figure out the ropes and how to play the game. And so we started in 2019. It's 2022. So I mean, if you take a year, so I've got 2 years of competent playing the game. There's bound to be new memories down the road, but I think right now my favorite memory would have to be going through all of those growing pains with Brad, and the fact that like sometimes we'd get in arguments about cards and card interactions that would wake his kids up in the middle of the night. Oh man, good times. It's been quite a while since we did that, but definitely fun times that we had there.
So Nationals 10 weeks away. You got your decks all ready yet?
How many different ways can I say no?
All right. So, what category are you most looking forward to?
um, Category I'm most looking forward to is probably teams, and I'm looking forward to type one as well, but there's not an expectation for me to, and maybe that's just I haven't played enough to have confidence built up yet in whatever deck I'm going to be playing because I've been so busy with baseball and work. But like I expect for me and Jeremy to go there and with our ability to play the game and put together competent decks, I would assume that we're looking to, place in the top 3 in that category. Like that's an expectation I have because I'm confident in our ability and also what the field will look like because I don't think the field will be all that large because of the fact that it's paired up against sealed deck with new starter decks and I think that's going to take a little bit away from it. So there's expectation to do well and also we got second place last year. So definitely looking forward to playing teams again.
You gonna share what deck you're playing in teams?
Um I will tell you that we had a strategy down, but at some point I think that strategy is going to change just because of how the meta has shifted. Um, I definitely think like we were planning on just doing a deck that could go out and slam down Golden Cross in the intro prep. So
That seems pretty good. Just being able to slam that. I mean, I don't know. Add in a Moses, really make it really tricky on them.
yeah, you could do that, or you could just focus all of your resources into having your um, almost impossible to beat Noah rescue attempts.
I mean, I like those too.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't played enough yet. The goal for us was we were going to build decks, and obviously we've got something built already, and then use the Alabama State Tournament, Tennessee State Tournament, Southeast Regionals, and East Central Regionals. Whichever of those tournaments we get to go to and participate in. Just a lot of chances to refine that deck and strategy and whatnot. So that's kind of where we're at. Jeremy came down. We built a base deck, and then we need to play some games and work on tweaking it from there.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. So here's a couple good questions, and I think I already know the answers to a couple of them. But right now, you've been in the game for 2 years. You're running a major podcast. You've become a really good player in, frankly, a relatively short amount of time. How long do you think redemption will be a part of your life?
Uh, um, well, there's a couple of things in there. You called me a really good player, so I don't know. I don't know if you're blind or whatnot, but
I was
you
just trying to
also
be
said
polite.
right, and you said a major podcast. It made me feel important there for a minute. Um, so I think I remember in third or fourth grade having Pokemon cards, and it's not relevant that I had Pokemon cards way back then. But what is relevant is then as a teenager, I got into Yu Gi Oh, and then shortly after I got married, my brother in law dragged me back into Yu Gi Oh for a while, and then I let it go again, and then Brad showed me this game. So at different points in my life, trading card games have always been an interest to me. And now I found one that kind of, you know, jives with other areas of my life, like my faith and whatnot. And it's one that I can play with, teach my kid how to play. And there's a lot of people that I've met within the game and personalities, and I I don't know that I don't know that I plan on. I mean, I don't plan on it ever not being a part of my life. So it would have to come to some outside circumstance that would force me to no longer be involved with the game. As of right now, I'm just all gas, no brakes, homie.
There we go. I knew I'd get an all gas, no brakes out of you at some point tonight.
Yeah, I gave that Tahoe all gas and no brakes.
No, you said you tried to tap the brakes a little bit. They pulled out in front of you.
Yeah, well,
So, have you started to teach Keegan to play? I mean, I feel like this probably came up in the episode. I'm not gonna lie. I listened to your episodes once, John. and I pick up on the important things, the spoilers and stuff like that. I usually I sometimes miss some of the finer things.
Yeah, so he's definitely played with the INJ or 4th edition starter decks. He's played a ton of games with those to where we're in that situation to where those decks are boring to him unless things break and he's able to see that he's going to win early on in the game, and then it's like now he's just bragging every time he makes a play. He's like, "You just got blocked," and you know, and one time we were playing, and he's like, "So are you going to band?" And I was like, "No, he doesn't have a band ability." And he's like, "Well, I bet you wish he did," as he drops his Angel of the Lord on me. And I was like, "Okay, fine." Uh, so just knowing that he's, starting to get bored with those starter decks, we've started to branch out. And I created based off of, so out of the Christmas box that he pulled a Matthews Baguettes, David Hart After God, and he had already previously at a sealed deck tournament pulled a Zerubbabel. So I used the basis of Kevin the Dude, which is Josh Portrat's. His, I think he had titled it originally "Humble Seekerless Humble Seeker Deck," if you recall that. But
Oh
it
yeah, I'm
basically had
familiar.
the, yeah, he come out with the protection and get the Zerubbabel thing going, but also had the backup of David to go and search out a piece, all of those different things. And since it used a lot of the ultra rare, or I mean, at one point it used all three of the ultra rares that he had, and now I don't think Matthews Baguettes is included in the deck list. But I ended up building him a deck based off of that, and we've played, I think, 2 or 3 times with it. Actually, I can only honestly remember two, but I feel like there was a third time, and he beat me both of those times with that deck. And I have bought him his own copy of Three Woes and Second Coming, so he has those. And we've started to build him up his own collection that he keeps separate from me. But it's hard to get him to sit down and be interested enough to where you can teach him because he's got that kid mentality going on right now. He's 8 years old. If he's not winning, he's not necessarily learning, if that makes sense. Most of the time you would think like even if you don't win, you learn something. Well, he doesn't have fun when he doesn't win. So then he kind of checks out and there's not much of a learning process happening. So it's we're taking it really slowly to where he's able to hopefully eventually compartmentalize, and you're not going to win every game, but you're always getting better, that type of thing. But he's just not there from a, maturity standpoint yet to be able to see it that way.
Sure, sure. That's fair. So my next question is kind of sort of like led yourself into a little bit. I was going to ask you what your reaction is going to be and what you're going to do the first time that he beats you in a tournament. And you said he's beaten you a couple times with the deck that you built with all the ultra rares, but I'm guessing that that wasn't necessarily in a tournament game.
No, but he did beat me. You really didn't listen to the episode with him,
No, I
but
really didn't.
he that's fine. I don't mind talking about this and just um he beat me in sealed deck where he pulled the Zerubbabel. He beat
Oh,
me
that's right.
he
I
beat me
see.
there in a tournament. Now, I will say again, that's there's a lot of luck based in that because you're using the starter decks and things. Now, when it comes to like in a type 1 setting to where like I help him build a deck and then we play in a tournament setting and he beats me there, then I think we're going to flip the script and it's going to be more me having that situation to where like I can't compartmentalize it. I'm not learning anything. I'm not having fun because I'm not winning. And the shoe's going to be on the other foot completely when he does that to me eventually in type 1, which I mean at a certain point it's going to happen. Just, the odds, you know, redemption, even if you're a really good player, like some of it comes down to if you've got competent level decks, you're not going to win every game. So,
Why not?
well, what happened in 2016? What happened in 2017? I mean, just crazy decks come out of nowhere that you don't plan for. Now, in this setting of me and him, if like I build the deck and I know what's in there and still lose, again, that's going to lead to me. I'm just not going to have fun with that.
Well, John, that is all the questions that I had there. I wanted to keep it nice and short for you. Obviously, I know you're struggling a little bit, but I just wanted to have the opportunity for you to be on the other side and tell the people a little bit about who you are. You know, you're 31 episodes in now, and I just thought it was time for them to get the curtain peeled back a little bit there on who you are. So I'll give you the last shot here. If there's anything else you want to say to your listeners, and then we'll wrap up and I'll get to editing for you.
Okay, yeah. Definitely think 31 episodes in at some point, maybe get some personal information. I've I noticed that it happens more organically when I have Brad on because I guess he's here in person. So there's a lot more of that conversation and a lot more of like, I remember the episode at Christmas time, like I told everybody what my son got for Christmas and all of that, went through those details, and then the episode with the Carmen copyright infringement. Uh, like there's been a couple of episodes where there's been a lot more of the personal side of it, and I don't know if you guys out there like that more than just the whole like last week we had Josh Knit and I had some difficulties getting it lined up and getting it started when we were recording, but we ended up just doing him for the conversation. And then it's mostly just a Q&A, giving him the floor to share about whatever topic we're talking about. I mean, obviously those could have a little bit more personality in them, if you will, or whatnot. So I don't know. I guess if you guys like that stuff and like more personal information in each episode, then just let me know and maybe we could kind of build around that and be more open with that. I just want to make sure that I'm focusing and giving floor to whoever the guest is and whatever the topic is. I want to make sure that those are what's focused on more in the episode. But definitely thank you guys for listening. And 31 episodes in is fantastic. We've got the week 5 giveaway. We're giving away the first Contender Deck this week from Your Turn Games, along with the Covenant Games playmat. So definitely excited for that. Definitely glad that we've been able to give back to the community since you guys have been listening and supporting the podcast from the beginning. So definitely appreciate you all listening and putting up with, the bad host here.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. All right, guys, that does it. That is a wrap on episode 31 of the Threshing Floor with your special guest host, John Earley. Thank you all so much for joining us. Don't forget to get your Lackey Grand Prix games in. Sign up for the online tournament being ran by our friend Derek. Get in on that, get some real-life redemption. Come up and hang out with me and Jaden and Kai at Minnesota State this Saturday. Make the trek on over. Jay, I expect to see you there, buddy. You said you were coming over from Michigan. I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to see everybody. It's been a while since we've had a big in-person tournament up here. I'm looking forward to that. And everybody send up some prayers for John that he is fully recovered and able to resume his normal hosting duties next week. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will get you out and on your way. Peace.